Divine Mercy Radio Catholic 540 AM is proud to present Come to Me, Encounters with the Eucharist, a local program that shares the stories of people who have been drawn to or deepen their faith in the Catholic Church by encountering Jesus in the Eucharist. Welcome your host of Come to Me, Lydia Tatum.
Thank you for joining us for this month's episode of Come to Me, Encounters with the Eucharist, where we will hear another inspiring story of encounter as Jesus continues to call each of us to meet him in the Eucharist. In the Eucharist, we are called to new life. We are nurtured by his grace, and as St. John Damascene says, we are inflamed in order that we might be united in communion with Christ and with one another. On this episode of Come to Me, we will hear how Jesus in the Eucharist beckons us to unity in the Church. Today, I am joined by Tabitha Morton. Welcome, Tabitha.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you could be here in the studio. It's been good to meet you outside of the studio before, but this is really fun to be able to have an interview and to really hear your story. I know you've heard mine as we've sat down together, so this is exciting to be able to hear from you.
Well, I appreciate it, and I hope that I can share something that really is uplifting for someone out there.
Wonderful. So just to begin, can you tell us where you're situated in the world? Where are you in the diocese, and what's your parish?
So I'm at St. Joseph. I'm a newly reverted Catholic. So I was baptized and then we did never practice Catholicism, and so from there went into the Baptist side of it. So for me, at this point, I'm just a new parishioner, and I call myself a baby Catholic.
A baby Catholic.
I'm
I am
learning
too. That's okay.
every day, but it's beautiful.
Baby Catholics bring great life to the Church, so we're glad that you're here.
I love Jesus.
So just to get us started, you gave us just a little bit of background. You are a revert, and you have just come in pretty recently, within the past several years. So could you point us to... let's see, where your journey with the Lord began that brought you to this point. So you grew up Catholic, then you were Baptist, and then there was a point at some point where something shifted. Tell us about that.
Well, where the turn probably came, it was around, so I had a maternal grandmother pass away. And she was Catholic, and she's also the one that made sure that I was baptized as a baby. I never really understood like the gravitas of being baptized at 3 months old, how beautiful, what a gift that was that she made sure that was done for me, even though my family very early on fell away from the church. So I never practiced any Catholicism, and really was not so much for church in general. Like my family would consider themselves spiritual, so they believed in God. There was a reverence in our home. I was always the very well-behaved child, and made sure that like everyone was happy and liked me. But the thing is like it's hard when I talk about. I hope this circles back the right way, but just coming to where I've encountered he's been with me from the very beginning. Like I can, before memory really formed for me, I can actually feel like this love or like a hug that I would, it was there the entire time. And so I have so little memory of like young childhood. But I do remember this, like, it was a warmth, a come to me, see me, I'm here, you're not alone. So after she passed away, it really started to like circle, like all of the past hurts, the things that had happened that had really, because even as an adult, we visited Baptist churches. I will tell you that I was a member, but I would not consider myself active in the church. It was something where I spent a lot of years in like an emptiness or an unworthiness. And now, I do not see that today. Please understand that person, she's gone. The Lord saved that person. But I look at things differently, and today it is a situation where had she not passed away, I don't know if the walk would have commenced. But I will tell you that I have some wonderful neighbors that are more like family than they are neighbors. And very simply put, I was constantly reminded of how much God loved me. And that was hard for me to accept. I don't know why I'm just not worthy. And one day, this individual who I've asked if I could name them, but his name is Papa Pokey, that's what we call him. And he just motioned, like, come with us to church. And I was just kind of had this look of like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready. But something gently was just guiding me. So that day I declined because, I wasn't ready to go to church. But it was this beautiful moment. And that's when I think that Christ really said, I'm here and I'm waiting for you in the Catholic lens. Like, this is where you have always needed to be. And once I started going, the beauty of it is that his wife, so Mama Lolo is what I call her, and they are like my spiritual parents. Please understand, they are my sponsors. But it is one where she would constantly just kind of run her little finger. She has these beautiful red nails that she always has just done. And she would just run it over. And every time, so as they're preparing for OCIA now, it was called RCIA when I went through. So I've been in longer, like enough to know that there's been a change to the adult rights. But it was one where the constant reminder from her was that fingernail just going across, and it would say things like, it's not too late, you can join. And so I did this for like maybe a year, that that it was building, it was coming, there were all these things going on, and I just was not quite there yet. But I went to church. I enjoyed every Mass. I took away more and more of what I would consider to be like a Catholic understanding of our relationship with the Lord. From the Baptist side, I had always seen it as more, very much reverence, hellfire, brimstone. And the only thing I can say is the relationship wasn't there. I knew he was there, but the relationship it was like he didn't have my cooperation. I was just kind of a part of the church, but the relationship wasn't there. It was almost like the physical structure and not, like you're saying, the Eucharist, the encounter. But once that encounter came about with the church, it really did put like a new set of glasses, I was so much more in focus. And that is when OCIA came knocking. Yeah. And he's wonderful. His name's Mike Mosier at St. Joseph. He's an amazing leader of that class. He's so humble, and he gives so much to the catechism and makes sure that we understand what it is that we're walking into. Because at first it's just people who are curious, who have questions. And I'm going to be honest with you, even though that red nail was very specific about my attending OCIA, it was one of those where I went in with questions and I came out with answers. That was, I think, the first time that I really, like, from the church standpoint, I knew, I was like, I'm in the right place. And then I met with the priest, who's amazing. Father Peter has been nothing but wonderful. And he met with my husband, and we talked things through. Just because I am Catholic does not mean my husband is, even though I think by interjection they kind of are. But he definitely was super supportive and was like, yes, I'm gonna support what you're doing, even though it is no longer Baptist. And he took that on, and it's been wonderful. So he reads with me. We spend a lot of time in Scripture. I hope I'm not going way off topic, but
you're doing great.
Okay, but it's one that that's how I knew. I knew I was in the right place. I knew that the Lord was calling me home, and on so many levels. Though it wasn't like the because I 100% am a sinner, oh my goodness gracious. And I repented of that life. And I felt like I died to that life. It was gone. And as I came back up, my husband was still there.
Yeah.
So that was so beautiful. Yeah. I was really nervous that it might destroy my marriage, just because it's so different than anything he's ever seen. And it didn't. It actually strengthened it. We're probably stronger than ever. We've had a lot of medical issues for him. And he has, I think even he knows, there's times where he's like, sweetie, I just, when you're spending your time and growing in your faith, know that I'm with you. And I think that's so beautiful.
No, that is.
Even though he doesn't go to church. And so he doesn't ascribe to any church, but he watches sometimes online. And I've caught him watching us. So at church, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah.
And he's just been a blessing in my life. He really has. And I know that the Lord wants him to become Catholic. Yeah. Like I can feel it. But he's just not there yet. Yeah. So maybe he'll be here before you know it. You'll have an interview with him.
So you said that as you started the OCIA process and you started to go to the classes, you were walking in with questions, but you were walking out with answers.
Yes, ma'am.
What were some of those discoveries that you made along the way?
Oh, there were so many. So as a Baptist, there were really only 2 sacraments, and that was baptism. And then very much the Eucharist is still, it's an important part of the Protestant faith, but in a different way.
Right.
So for them, it was like symbolism, and that really changed. And so for me, it's like being touched by heaven on earth. And I say that just so powerfully because reconciliation, that sacrament that people, miss out on, don't take advantage of. I don't know if it's, they're scared, if it's, they're holding on to it and they don't want to let it go. That to me is like, it's a gift of Catholicism.
Absolutely.
It's better than any therapy that you could ever go to get yourself right spiritually. And so that was a big one. That was a really big one. And I think Mike knew that touched.
Yeah.
So he was like, bing. Not that student that comes in and is like, okay, well, I have a list, but he's like, okay, let me answer your questions. But it was, I would say definitely the encounter with the Eucharist that really changed. And I knew that I wanted to be a part of that. Right. And I couldn't. So I was doing the crossing of arms. They were so good Catholics, the Pokies. They made sure that I was not, So my arms were crossed. But once I got into, I remember asking them questions about that. I remember asking about angels. It's just so much. Catholics were just so colorful. Yeah. The tapestry of life just really fills in. And it became an us instead of like an I. I felt like there was a lot of that. Yeah. And I had never been that person, so I'm not an I person. And that it was always feeling awkward and different when I was at church for, the Protestant faith. And I love my Protestant brothers and sisters. They're wonderful, and I have Bible studies they're wonderful. But it's different. It's different.
Yeah. There is, I'm going to make up a word. There's a tangibility.
Okay, I like it.
Tangibleness.
I like that.
A sense of things being tangible in the Catholic faith, specifically in the sacraments, where you can touch and taste and smell and hear and feel our faith. That is lacking when we're talking about symbolism or abstract ideas.
Right.
There's so much mystery in our faith, just beautiful mystery. But God doesn't leave us to our own imaginative devices to discern that mystery. He gives us these handholds, the 7 sacraments, to be able to feel him, to be present with him, to connect with him. And so when you're talking about finally feeling like you weren't out of place, or feeling like you were, even though as beautiful of a tapestry as it is, and as diverse of a tapestry as it is, you found your place in it, and you had this union with Christ in the Eucharist, but also this union with Christ's people in the church.
Yes.
So it's just a beautiful picture that you've painted of family. And I'm so excited that has also drawn you closer to your husband, who's not in the same place in his faith as you. Oftentimes that is a fear that we have, that we are going to be out of step with our loved ones as we go down this journey. So it's just beautiful and an incredible testament to God's love and mercy to you and to your husband and your marriage as you've grown closer to him. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. Because sometimes when I share it, it almost seems as though like I can't capture it all.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. It's too big to wrap our arms around, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's just been a blessing. And, you know, the people that have been placed in my life have been nothing but light. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something where the communal aspect of everything that we do in Catholicism is so it's like empowering in the sense that there's something more with group than there is in the alone stance. So the embers seem to burn brighter.
Right.
And that's, I feel as though I'm able to touch so many more people. It's not me, right? It's him living in me and through me, and I can feel it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think Catholicism really brings about a unity that there is bar none, And so I know that I'm in the right place. Now, trying to put myself into an area around people that are not practicing the faith, because I always say I'm a Jesus follower under a Catholic lens. Like that is how I choose to encounter, if you want to say, the way we were speaking before about the Eucharist. To me, it's like the Lord is right here with us, and I love that tangibility. I love that. The abstractness of a way, and, I'm praying as a solo. No, we're communal. We're all together. We are the body of Christ. Yeah. That's what's so beautiful. And I always think to he's the, and I always say this, he says, I'm the vine and you're the branches. And I'm just that little branch, but means so much.
Absolutely.
As our collective whole, like emergent properties is how I look at it. But
Very good. So we kind of touched on it a little bit, but sure. I want to zone in on Easter Vigil.
Okay.
On you receiving your sacraments, because you talked about it. You walked up, you were made sure that you did not receive when you weren't supposed to. Right. You crossed your arms, you received your blessing, you were patient, which that's a big part of the journey too, as you're learning more and more about your faith and you're being drawn so deeply into relationship with Jesus that you're being patient and waiting to receive him until you're ready.
Right.
And so tell me about the anticipation leading up to Easter Vigil and about that actual moment of reception of Jesus after your confirmation.
It was amazing. So expect the unexpected, be open-minded, keep your heart in everything that you are in line with the church. That's, I think, because the precepts are there for a reason. And the way that we're walking through the process in OCIA, RCIA when I was there, but going through the process of adult rites, it was, everything was revealed in pieces. And it wasn't just given to you all at once, which, by the way, I have a personality that loves it all at once.
I get that.
It is, and that's the thing, that that's not what's important. It's being in the moment. It's feeling every moment, understanding how beautiful the journey is. I have gotten to where, especially when I speak to the time that we were going through confirmation and then taking the Eucharist for the very first time, so Holy Communion, it was one of those moments where I don't know how to say it. It's out of this world.
It is. It is.
And that's why I keep saying touched by heaven on earth,
Absolutely.
So the process preparing, so you always have to think of that first, is that, so especially if you've never gone to confession.
Mm-hmm.
So that in itself is grueling, trying to get everything together. Because I was like,
you had a life confession,
right? I was
That's
like,
a big one.
And I think, and I actually believe that that's one of those moments where you're like, how do I get it all in?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I did, even things that I had before on the Baptist side, having that direct communal relationship with the Lord. So you ask for forgiveness directly, and I know that we can do that as Catholics too. Our own personal journey is going on in our mind, our spirit, everything's all connected. He wants it all. He wants your mind, he wants your body, he wants your spirit, that whole heart. And what I can tell you is that when I was preparing for that, I was like, so how long is the priest got?
Yeah, you do have to schedule it. It could go on for a little while.
What if this runs long? But it really was not as terrifying as I thought it was. And they have like a little examination of conscience, which really help prepare. Mm-hmm. That's another thing I love about Catholicism. There is always a resource. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is ask.
Yep.
And that I think is so beautiful. Ask and you shall receive. But when it comes to that preparatory time, I was just pins and needles, like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do this. But once I got in there, the relationship that you have with God is so tight that you know that's not the priest. He's just in proxy. Jesus is right there meeting you. And it's so warm and inviting. Like, it's, talk to me, let me know what is going on, what's happening with you. And of course, I had so much that I was, coming back with sins that were committed, long ago that I didn't understand. So I used to blame myself for them. Mm-hmm. So that release was really big. But everything that I had done in between, every infraction of life, type thing is how I felt. And that's not, it doesn't define us.
Right.
It's just, they're just little drips of life, that you've lived. And when you repent from that, you just turn completely away. The Lord is open arms. Yeah. And that was very powerful. So once I completed confession and he absolves you and, had my penance and all of those, once I was ready to receive the Eucharist, that it was in the evening, it was Easter Vigil on top of it all. So they have like all the lights out. It was so powerful. That's what I'm saying, is that our Catholic faith really builds on this complete enveloping of us. It's not just bits and pieces. It's all of it. It's everything. And you were even saying scents. And I remember the smells, the incense, the oils that were used during the Lenten journey as we're preparing to get ready, as you're rebuking the devil, that you're making all of these pronouncements, and saying in within yourself, like, I know what I'm about to do. And I understand that if I were to die today, I know where I will be. Mm-hmm. That's a very reassuring, wonderful feeling. Because I used to get real questioned, like, what happens when people still have unresolved, and I won't even say sin, but just unresolved matters on the heart when they pass. I think purgatory is God's blessing to those who have that hard time, that just really have a difficult time letting it out. Yeah, I really do. But again, I digress. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to those times that, you're preparing for this perfect union with God, it's amazing. And everyone there were tears, everybody's just, but it's of complete happiness. It was so beautiful. I wouldn't trade that time for anything. I wouldn't. Mm-mm.
So what still, if you looked back, stands out to you most about that day and about receiving God's grace through the sacrament?
Yes, it was so beautiful. And to receive the sacrament, it was so if you really want to know what I remember most, because it was something that I didn't do, it was another's, there were other people that were going through, was that they were baptized. We did confirmation. So adult rites is a little different than the children.
Right.
Though I was trying to be like almost as like a teacher for the younger children. But when it comes in the sense of the baptism that they were going through right with us, we just were not participating ourselves fully, but we were there to support them. That is probably what I remember most. Mm-hmm. It was just to watch everything going on, and it seemed like these people were it was transformative. Mm-hmm. So then it was taking me back to the promises that were made of my early life at 3 months. Yeah. I was little bitty, of what that would have meant to the family, of everything that was going on for my grandmother. And I was I was very close to my maternal grandmother. Yeah. So when she passed, I think she finally said, okay, she's coming back to the church. Yeah. And it's just one that night, the love that was in the room, that was amazing too. All the parishioners that were there to support. It was everyone that came together for that common purpose of, I forgot what they called us. I think it was elect.
The elect are those who have not yet been baptized. Okay, so you were a candidate.
So a candidate. Yeah, I knew that there's terms for everything. There are terms I'm learning. I am learning. But it was wonderful. Yeah. It really was. And we were all together. And of course, our class still, to this day, a lot of us still stay in touch.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. So you've been living life as a full Catholic. Full-fledged Catholic for 2 or 3 years, somewhere around there. Correct. So now that you're living as a Catholic, how has your prayer life changed?
Oof. So probably night and day from when I was Baptist. So some of the things that have really become evident is that, so praying unceasingly, I offer up all sorts of things. My husband will come up to me and he'll be like, oh, like, what's going on with you? And I'm like, and he knows at that point. I know I can't show that on the radio, but that's like,
oh, I know. I have the same signals to my husband when I'm praying, and he's
because they don't realize
not responding to me right now. I'm in the middle of prayer.
Yeah, he's just like, you're not listening, and I'm like, so, and including the rosary and things. So that's something he doesn't understand, right? That the Blessed Mother has given us this gift to bring us back centered. That's not about us. And I think that's something that has really been powerful in my prayer life. So the rosary is my way of like that connectivity of time where nobody messes with me. As soon as you see the beads out, it's like, okay, I know what she's doing. And then they'll move away from me. So what I do now is I find time no matter what's going on. And I have a pretty busy schedule. I try to say it's hands and feet for the Lord because I'm out there doing anything and everything I can to touch other people's lives with the light that's been given. Yeah. And I really do see like I don't know how to describe it other than just setting aside time. So I just have to take time, like anything else, to make sure that I'm spending time with the Lord, that it's not all the distractions. And the way I do that is through the rosary, because it takes everything away. It strips it all away. And I am thinking about the Lord's journey here on earth with us. Yeah. And that, I'm undertaking this journey that he's placed me on. And so these things that have changed for me lately, I will tell you just recently I got into that Pray 40. So I'm a Hallow girl. Yeah. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I love Hallow. And it's been wonderful.
Good.
So, and, they have meditative prayer. I mean, there's just intercessory, like there's so many different options. And I'm learning about the saints through Hallow. There's just so much out there. And it really has become for me, like I said, prayer is everywhere around me. I get in the car, I mean, it doesn't matter what's going on. I give thanks, and I'm always offering up whatever it is I'm about to do.
Yeah. You mentioned that you're wanting to share this light with anybody and everybody.
Oh,
and I'm sure prayer is definitely what undergirds all of that. But how do you? Because a lot of people are a little hesitant about evangelism. Tabitha, I've known you a little bit, and I know you're not. So you're kind of our guru. And I want to hear, how do you share your Catholic faith with others who might be curious or might be really hesitant about Catholicism?
That's a great question. So I remember I come from the Protestant side, so I come from a Baptist side. So I do have people question me all the time. So what I try to do is, everybody knows in regards to my life in general, that it is one where I choose every day the Lord. I invite him every day. So I say, and we all know them, they're prayers that are very strong, and they help so much in Catholicism. I'm just saying, feel what you say. Don't just say it. Feel what you say. And the Lord comes through. And I don't believe it's so much me. Like, I know I'm here. I know I'm in cooperation. I understand that, but I actually feel it. It will change what I say. It will change how I react to someone when they say something to me. So what I try to do is just be positive. Yeah. And making sure that when I interact with someone, that they feel touched. And it could be something as simple as actually physically touching, which, by the way, I think it might be a love language. I don't know. But, so that is something of me. But what I always want to make sure and do when I'm out, and I do in so many different things. So I'm even helping here with Divine Mercy. We all know that. Yeah. So I'm the little smiley face that comes in and is like, hi, I'm here to help. So essentially what we are like charged to be is the best we can be for the Lord here. So what I try to do is I really listen to like the works, the spiritual works, careful with my counsel, the things that I try to bring about to people that are not Catholic is that there's such a gift in the structure of Catholicism. Some of the disorganization that goes on, and I'm not saying anything one way or the other. I know plenty of Protestants that are wonderful about getting out and just they're walking with Jesus, right? He says, take up your cross and follow me. That's a Baptist thing that you'll hear them say all the time, right? And we all know that that's scripture, but we're actually walking the walk. So it's different. I try to volunteer as much as I can. And I currently am at, CPO, a wonderful organization that touches so many lives. And it can be just the simplest thing. So I carry around some little doves that I hand them off. I also have a Bible verse, like I have one in my pocket today. And if we want to, we can close with that Bible verse. But I share that with someone that I can feel when I'm speaking with them really needs that. They need to hear the word. And I may be the only person that they hear that from that day. And CPO is not to, it's not because we're a Catholic organization. It's universal for everyone. And that's what I love. I mean, I really do. I just love it. There is nothing more gratifying, and I do believe that is something the Lord has instilled in us, is to serve others. So, and then of course it's a corporal work. So see, it just fits. It just all fits. Yeah. And so for this baby growing Catholic, it helps to kind of sew me in to the understanding of everything that is so much bigger than myself and how I fit in this small little, there's just every little thing makes a difference. Absolutely. We do make a difference.
Absolutely.
So that would be it for that.
Yeah. Well, it's the tie between what you do with your life and where you receive all of that grace and the power to do it in the Eucharist is so, it's a straight line. It's a straight line because you go to Mass and we go almost like the disciples when Jesus says, let's go up the mountain. And they get to the top of the mountain and it's incredible, right? Jesus is transfigured in front of them. They're saying, oh, Jesus, let's just stay here forever. Can we pitch you some tents? And Jesus says, no, you can't stay here. You got to go back down there. And that's just like us when we receive the grace of the sacraments. I see it in your face, Tabitha, when you talk about how your Catholic faith informs every ounce of your life, is that you've seen Jesus. Oh, and now you're walking down the mountain and you're bringing him to everybody else. That's the end of the Mass. It is the mission, right? We are to go out and to bring him to everyone else. And so the grace that God gives you, that's the difference here. As Catholics, it doesn't stop with us. It's not just one flow of grace that ends with us, but we're conduits for it. And I love that physical touch is your love language because you got to complete the circuit, right? And so you just you grab somebody else, and then the grace flows from you to another person, and we call them back with us. And we just never know what their journey is going to be and how long it might be until they get there. But you've brought that life of God into someone else's life through your scripture and through your doves and through the ways that you serve at CPO. It's just a truly beautiful story, and it's inspiring. I think for a lot of folks, we live our faith day to day. And living our faith day to day means that sometimes we are on those mountains and sometimes we are in deep, dark valleys. And sometimes the deep, dark valleys are the ones that get us back up the mountain, honestly. It's when we're just trudging along in daily life and nothing else is going on that our faith kind of stagnates sometimes. But to hear stories of people who are just completely on fire because God's holy fire has come into them, especially recently, and their confirmation, and then they receive the gifts in the Eucharist as well, that helps us kind of get through those stagnated times. And so as we kind of look forward to how we can start to hear Tabitha's story and be inspired by it, what would our takeaways be today? I mean, what would you say to our listeners who are kind of feeling a little stagnant of how their Catholic faith can breathe new life into them, but really for the good of everyone around them?
Oh, that's beautiful. So I'm going to go back to how I got here the first time, because this is something that I hope is powerful for all, is, of course, understanding the role of those beautiful neighbors that are like friends. The Pokies will always be cherished. But the one thing I can tell you is that when we plant seeds of faith, and that's how I see it. It's the same as, Jesus would have said, you're going to plant. He's there. It's not that he's not here. It's that he's not being received. And that is really hard when you are around people that are constantly kind of drawing away, right? Mm-hmm. So I use it as like light and darkness. Darkness is drawing. You just come in blasting that light. And with that light, it's like seeds that you're planting. Okay. And this was last year's pledge drive, which is how I ended up in this whole thing. So I had no idea that that's what the centered focus was. I don't know if you want to call it what it was focusing on at the time, but seeds lie dormant, and it doesn't mean they're not viable. So what I do there is I just constantly try to add light. I water. I make sure that I check on what I'm doing. I'm not someone who's going to touch someone's life and then you never see me again. Like, I make sure that I reconnect at all times. It doesn't matter what it is that I'm doing. So it could just be, at church, at Mass, which, by the way, is like the biggest prayer. The beauty is that we're in the Lord's house. And those times when we're with others, you bring that love. Like, I believe that is my cooperation. Mm-hmm. So, it's like almost like I reach out, like you said, and the energy kind of comes through, because it is one where we all have, I call it a job. We all have a job to do, and that is to be disciples of Christ. Mm-hmm. So we are following him, and he leads. I'm in things that I never would have dreamed before. Being involved in areas that you just can't fathom. You're sitting back and you're like, what? It's not a match for who I had been. But the beauty of it is that when it comes to the Eucharist and that, there's never a word that I can find that encompasses the, just the enveloping that is our faith, the beauty of the relationship with the Lord. And by keeping that strong, doing his works here, mm-hmm. That's, when Jesus was here, he was planting these seeds. They were all here. And it doesn't mean that just because yesterday it wasn't received doesn't mean today it won't. Mm-hmm. So I've had several encounters like that already, where you don't think that they're open, and then all of a sudden they come back to me. And wow, that is so amazing. And I know that's him working through me, and to even be just a small part of that opening line, God bless you. Mm-hmm. When people, here's something I'll tell you guys I do. So my lesson is that no matter what we do in this world, it matters. It matters. And what we speak, it's the power of the tongue. And if you speak blessings into someone's life, they're touched in a way that you can't, there's just no way to know where it's going to go. Mm-hmm. And so I try to meet everyone with that positivity, that love, and that openness, that I'm ready to help in any way I possibly can. I will tell you, I'm one of the inviters. So I'm always like, come to Mass, mm-hmm. come be with us. Right now, Stations. I had a really good friend of mine that came to Stations, and now she's kind of starting to gain a little traction, like it was amazing. So what I'm seeing right now, that I hope this conveys to the listeners, is that God, he's waiting for us. He's so patient too. And I think that that's what's so beautiful, is that it's a virtue. Yeah. And I don't have it, just so y'all know. I pray about it a lot, but that's the takeaway, is patience. Yeah.
Well, I've heard in your story so many. I love the agrarian imagery all over the story. We're planting seeds. That's a fantastic one. John 15 is one of gardening. My favorite passages in the scriptures. I am the vine, you're the branches that you mentioned. And so hearing that and hearing your story and the way that you are living out your faith, and the inspiration for us is the message that we're to abide in him. Wake up every day and abide in him, mm-hmm. and he will use us for his good and his glory. And those seeds that we plant, those lives that we touch, they will receive the grace of God. And we just have to be faithful. Faithful Amen. Waterers, faithful vines, faithful branches. We have to be faithful. So thank you, Tabitha, for sharing your story with us today. Your witness and work in the world is surely going to encourage our listeners on their own journeys and towards a deeper encounter and union with Christ.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me, and God bless you all. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thank you, Tabitha, for sharing your story with us today. Your witness and your work in the world will surely encourage our listeners on their own journeys towards deeper encounter and union with Christ. Thank you to our wonderful production team here at Divine Mercy Radio. You can listen to this episode again or previous episodes of Come to Me, in addition to all of our local programming, on our website at DivineMercyRadio.org/local programs. You can listen anytime on the free Divine Mercy Radio NC app or on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Come to Me. I am Lydia Tatum, and until next time, Jesus, in the most blessed sacrament, hear our prayer.